I spoke yesterday with members of the Sudanese community, and we have spoken about Libya, Ireland's relationship via the EU with the Libyan Coast Guard and the human rights concerns there. There are also very deep concerns around some of the funding that has been provided by Ireland through the European Union to rapid support forces in Sudan who have, according to many human rights concerns, very strong links with the former military regime, and in some cases there have been suggestions that they may have links with the Janjaweeds. We are really looking at rapid support forces who have been engaged in the very violent action against protesters and civil society in Sudan. And I'd like, given that the African Union has suspended its recognition of Sudan at the moment, I think we certainly need, and Ireland should look to questioning and suspending whether or not we should be funding military forces that are not recognised in that sense. I was very inspired by the civil society groups from Sudan who came and spoke to us, young people who spoke about meeting, instead of picking up weapons, picking up paintbrushes, picking up cameras, picking up pencils, picking up microphones to make sure that they had a peaceful transition to civilian-led government. That is the issue now, and I think again Ireland, as a country with experience of peace negotiations, can and should play a very useful role in supporting Ethiopia, who are seeking to act as mediators around ensuring a peaceful transition. Again, I'd ask the leader perhaps to see if some of these issues might be covered by the Minister of Defence, or alternatively if perhaps the Minister for Foreign Affairs may be able to speak around the role that Ireland might be able to play over the next coming months in the summer when we will be in recess. That's why I would love if we could find even an hour in the schedule to discuss this issue before the recess, so that Ireland can support this peaceful transition. The one I want to speak about very crucially, one that I believe, Minister, I would ask you to engage with the Minister for Foreign Affairs and look for the immediate suspension of, is in relation to funding that has been given to the rapid support forces in Sudan. Currently, we have a situation where even the African Union no longer recognises any government in Sudan. We have extraordinary testimony from civil society groups who will again take to the streets this weekend. We had young people speaking here last week about how, instead of taking up weapons, they chose to take up paintbrushes, to take up microphones, to take up pencils. And we have an extremely powerful civil society movement. But we do have concerns that rapid support forces, funded by European funding in a similar way to Libya, have effectively been rerouted to groups linked with the Janjaweed and are taking place in violent actions against protesters at a time when there is no transitional government recognised in place. And in the context of that peace building, I wish to make a special call, Leader. You might facilitate and pass this on. It was a commencement matter I had hoped to have today, but due to the volume of commencement matters, it was not covered. We are at a moment now when civil society in Sudan have been expressing very clearly and strongly the need and desire for a transition to a civilian-led government. For those of us who care about democracy, it is a really important moment that after 30 years of dictatorship, we have a vibrant, young, dynamic and inclusive Sudanese civil society wishing to engage in peace negotiations and have a civilian government. Ireland can have a role. Ethiopia has stepped in as mediator, but Ireland can have a role in ensuring that we do see meaningful negotiations, that the result of those negotiations is a genuinely democratic civilian-led government, and that we also make sure that the lives of civilian protesters are protected. I say this particularly in the context of, I know there are major days of action on this weekend, on the 13th and the 14th, and I would ask if the Leader may pass on to the Minister for Foreign Affairs a request that Ireland would indicate that it is watching to ensure that we do not have violence against protesters. Of course, the other issue that must be dealt with over the summer by the new European Commission is the fact that European funding is going to the rapid support forces in Sudan, now operating without any government, Many feel having very strong and inappropriate links to the Janjaweed who have been engaging in violence against civilians. So again, certainly I think we must look to suspension of European funding, much as the African Union has temporarily suspended Sudan's membership of the African Union pending successful negotiations to a civilian government.